This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what you need to know today. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has resumed calls for a new constitution while marking the Constitution Day holiday last Friday. He asserted that the current constitution, adopted in a 1995 referendum, should be overhauled, saying, "We need a new constitution which the people will consider to be what they created, what they accepted, and believe that what is written in it is their idea of the state they created and the relations between people and citizens in the state." While Pashinyan has insisted the need to change the constitution is a completely internal matter, it comes after Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev has repeatedly indicated that he will not sign a normalization deal until Armenia removes what he says are territorial claims on Azerbaijan in the constitution. The current constitution cites Armenia's 1990 Declaration of Independence, which in turn calls for the unification of Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh. Changing the constitution would require a national referendum, and even then there is no guarantee it would pass. Armenia's defense ministry announced Saturday that it will host joint military exercises with the United States next week, with the aim of building up the proficiency of Armenia's peacekeeping unit and strengthening ties between the two countries. Known as Eagle Partner 2024, it follows a similar one held last September. The purpose of the exercises is to increase the level of coordination of units, exchange best practices in the field of management and tactical communication, as well as increase the combat capability of the Armenian unit, the ministry said. The exercise will include troops from the U.S. Army Europe and Africa Command and the Kansas National Guard, which has cooperated with Armenia for decades as part of a Pentagon program. For its part, the U.S. Army Europe and Africa Command explained, "Conducting this training allows troops from both nations to become familiar with each other's equipment and strengthens the trust and friendships between our nations and the men and women of our military services." Both Russia and Iran denounced last year's drills, with the Kremlin calling it an unfriendly step. Since then, Armenia has frozen its participation in a Russian-led defense alliance as it continues to pivot to the west. There was no immediate reaction from Moscow or Tehran to these latest drills. In related news, the U.S. Defense Department announced on Friday it would indefinitely suspend similar exercises it conducts annually with Georgia in light of the country's deteriorating relations with the West. In May, Tbilisi pushed through a controversial foreign agents law amid massive protests, a move that has now frozen Georgia's efforts to join the European Union. Pashinyan sent a congratulatory message on Saturday to Iran's newly elected reformist president, Masoud Pezeshkian, after the results of Friday's second round of voting. The election was called to replace former President Ibrahim Raisi, who was killed in a helicopter crash in May. Yerevan's relations with Tehran are of special importance, and the continuous deepening of warm relations between Armenia and Iran is of particular importance in the context of both bilateral cooperation and regional stability, Pashinyan wrote. The Prime Minister also expressed his confidence that a number of new projects agreed upon under Raisi would still be enacted. Last month, Tehran's ambassador to Yerevan, Mehdi Sobhani, insisted that Iran's support for Armenia's territorial integrity and security would not change, regardless of the election's outcome. Also on Saturday, Pashinyan sent a congratulatory message to the new British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, whose Labour Party won in a landslide election last Thursday. Pashinyan expressed his satisfaction at the consistent development and deepening of relations between our countries in recent years. Last year, Yerevan and London upgraded ties to a strategic dialogue. Meanwhile, France yesterday held elections for its National Assembly. With results still coming in, it appears a coalition of leftist parties has taken the top spot, keeping the far right from power. Despite the shock election result, France's policies of support for Armenia are not expected to change, as they enjoy broad support across the country's political spectrum. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 14. That's because Armenia celebrated Vardavar yesterday, a festival that falls every year 14 weeks after Easter. Armenians mark the day by drenching other people with water. Vardavar has its roots in pagan times and was later adopted by the Armenian Apostolic Church. On this day, it's risky just to walk down the street, since you never know who might be around the next corner or on a balcony above waiting with a bucket of water. But the fun is contagious, and even those who start out unwilling usually find themselves picking up a bucket and joining in. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.